You go ahead.
I got the text you sent me, John. That was golden.
I mean, you asked Mad Dog Russo to pronounce the name Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you get
the Seahawks blocked a 48-yard field goal with 4 minutes left, which would have put the Pats up 6. That was a big play in this game. Smith played well, and his receivers, Metcalf caught 10, Jackson Smith Nagujuba, the kid from Ohio State, he caught 12 more.
Thank God. Thank God it was that. Thank God. That's good enough.
Oh, man.
Holy smokes.
Don't take another crack at it, dog.
Don't do it. Oh, good. How about we'll call him JSN from now, okay?
I mean, and by the way, can I just tell you how vintage that radio is? Oh, Tommy, the vintage radio that Chris Russo gives you on Sirius XM got the old-fashioned music in the background, and he's just reading the box scores. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Hey, the game is Jackson Smith and Jugba. He's unbelievable. I mean, he's doing that. It's just the old school reading the box score game after game. That's good stuff.
I think I pulled a gut muscle there laughing. That was good. That was a good hearty laugh for a Tuesday morning.
That's how you should have every day. Every day you should laugh. You should cry. You should be moved to emotion.
That's exactly what Jimmy Valvano said, correct? In his famous speech.
That is correct.
Oh, man. You guys had some really good conversations today, too. It's like, I think we're all prone to emotion on a Monday morning, especially after a Sunday night game.
Mm-hmm.
So then you kind of, you exercise your feelings, but then you kind of, and like in Jonathan Hood fashion, I got like 4 pages on my notebooks written out about a number of different things. Mm-hmm. And, it is really interesting from how the team's been constructed, because I know you were talking about the Bill Belichick stuff. And that's a really interesting conversation because, I just did this exercise. You talk about the offensive line. Do you realize inside our own division, this is how the Vikings, the Packers, and the Lions have gone about putting together their teams?
Right.
Okay. Vikings have 2 second-round picks, 2 first-round picks, and a 6th-round pick. Also, that's their starting 5. The Packers have 2 second-rounders, 1 third-rounder, a 4th-rounder, and a 7th-rounder. And they develop their players regardless of position as well as anyone in the National Football League on offense. The Lions have 3 first-rounders, another first-rounder from the Bengals that they signed as a free agent, and 1 third-rounder. Now, as you guys talk about team construction, and we had this conversation yesterday as well about the Saints. What are the Saints doing well? Clint Kubiak is now the OC, and they've had a masterful first 2 games. The Saints have 3 first-round picks on their O-line, a second-round pick, and Lucas Patrick. But anyway, you have 4 guys that were drafted in the top 35 or 40. If you look at the situation, it shouldn't come as a huge surprise that they're struggling a bit up front, because other teams in their division and around the league that are having success have put more assets into building their offensive line. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like last night,
yes,
I was telling this to the guys here. I follow a guy named Brandon Thorne, NFL. He's an offensive line guru, and he had a breakdown. I was watching the game. I'm like, wow, this kid in the middle of the Falcon offensive line is really good.
BC kid,
yeah,
by the way.
Chris Lindstrom.
Yeah.
And to watch this tape breakdown, I showed it to Hoodie of him against Jalen Carter. I mean, it was just a work of art.
Do you know where Chris Lindstrom was picked?
Yeah, 14th in the first round.
Right. So,
and the guy starting in Tampa right now, who's a starter, was picked this year, 26th in the first round.
Right. So, as our good friend Olin has told us all in the past, you get what you pay for. So, it doesn't mean you still can't find success. But when you look across the offensive line and you feel yourself frustrated for obvious reason, you have to acknowledge Braxton Jones is a 5th-round pick. Tevin Jenkins was a fairly high pick, but he's not playing well. Your center was a 1-year, $3 million addition.
Who the Rams kicked out.
Exactly. Nate Davis has not worked. And, Darnell Wright is a 2nd-year player, and a lot of people have told me everyone loves him. I think he's a fantastic player. You learn more about a player like that in year 2 than you do year 1. And you're not going to come to any conclusions after 2 games.
Right.
But teams are going to adjust to what you do. Now, how are you going to adjust to that? So, look, it doesn't mean that you can't succeed. But if you look at the makeup of your team, and now I'm not suggesting you guys are saying this, but people are like, well, now we got to ground it and pound it. Oh, really? Well, you traded a 4th-round pick for Keenan Allen. You signed a pass-catching tight end in Gerald Everett. You signed a dual-threat running back in DeAndre Swift. You drafted your quarterback first overall, and then you drafted Rome Odunze at 8. Your offensive line has a 5th-round guy, and you traded a 5th-rounder for Bates, who's a perennial, fill-in guy, and you signed, as we said, Coleman Shelton for $3 million, and you want to ground and pound? Like, you have built this team, or you've gone about it in a non-ground and pound way. Now, it doesn't mean you can't run the football, and it's up to this OC to find a way to get more out of the running game. But for everyone now, not saying you guys, but for people now, let's just run the Packers offense. The Packers offensive line is light years better than
And what
ours.
did they do in the first round this year? Added an offensive lineman.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, again, and then I just go, look, I mean, I can paint you a positive picture. There's a lot new here, guys. You got a new quarterback. You've got new players in your huddle. You've got a new offensive coordinator. You've faced 2 of the most challenging fronts in football in your first 2 weeks. You got to let it breathe a little bit. You're going to get the Colts, who rank 31st in defense this week. You're going to get the Rams, who rank 32nd in defense next week after that.
Then Carolina.
Yeah, you get a couple weeks of solid play. You build some momentum, and then we'll look at it. Again, that's the rosy side of it. The hard reality is life in the NFL is really difficult. It's not good enough for your receivers not to win their battles. They got to catch the ball in the end zone. Your quarterback's got to be more accurate. He's got to make these throws. And the offensive line's got to block someone. And the coordinator has to find a way to run the football and get his quarterback more comfortable. So, there's a lot there in 2 weeks, but I think at the end of the day where I find myself, look, as bad as it's been offensively, you get a really good chance to be 4-1 in the first 5 weeks of the season. So here's hoping that they find some common ground inside that locker room and the offense starts to gel a little bit. But, it's a lot of emotion attached to this team in the first couple games.
Tommy, what was your favorite offensive play from the Bears on Sunday night?
My favorite offensive play.
Torrey Taylor.
No, stop it. Stop it with the punter.
We're just trying to get a clean cut here, Tommy. So go right ahead. Good NQ and good out.
I would say the fairly deep out that he threw, that Caleb threw on time to DeAndre Carter in the first drive.
Yeah. Again, an unlikely suspect because that was not on our bingo card.
Yeah, but that's the part of being an NFL player. Like, DeAndre Carter has answered the bell through 2 weeks in the return game. And then when Keenan Allen can't go, guess what? You got to step in, and this is your opportunity to kind of, earn more playing time here. And I think he's done really well. He ran a nice sail route to start the second half, the first drive of the second half, and Caleb overthrew him.
Yep.
So
that's the second time in 2 weeks he's missed them.
Yeah.
Deep.
Yes. I heard you guys earlier. There's enough blame to go around, but I think that we, for some reason in this town, we're afraid to blame highly paid players for not doing their jobs well. The first thing we do is we look for a boogeyman, and that boogeyman is often the offensive coordinator, who
or
may
the hitting
have his own
coach,
faults,
or the pitching coach. Yeah,
who may have their faults. But for me, I don't know how you guys feel. It always starts with player performance. Like I heard the Tevin Jenkins thing. I agree with you guys 100%. Really, that's your response? How about blocking the guy in front of you? I don't care what the assignment is. You may disagree.
Your job.
Do your job first. But that sounds like a frustrated young man who knows he's in a contract year and hasn't played well in 2 weeks. So,
to my knowledge, I don't know. I mean, we get the call, we get our call up front, and we execute to what we're getting coached to do. I mean, a lot of things happen, but like pressures and stuff. So we can only control so much.
Yeah, and I played the role of Tevin with Hoodie. And I just said, look, we've got to be better. We've got to keep our quarterback clean, and we'll get back to work, all of us, tomorrow.
Amen.
Could you give a text to Collinsworth, please, and let him know that, Tommy, it wasn't about Keenan Allen not being on the field.
No, you're right.
Could you just tell him, maybe offensive line and maybe just the timing with the quarterback and all the whole system and everything else? As much as I would have liked Keenan Allen on the field, that's not what was missing on Sunday. It would have been nice, but for Chris to say that we're really missing him on third down, Mike. No,
No, you're right, Jonathan. But there was, and I felt the same way. There were a couple moments there where I thought Collinsworth was spot on when he talked about back shoulder throws and that they're there, and that Caleb's got to make those throws, the one to DJ, and then ultimately Rome runs the wrong route that's the other thing, guys. Like, I love the fact that these two rookies come out and say, it's on me, I'm accountable, which is great. But I want to get to sooner rather than later them not having to be accountable for their mistakes and just to see them play better. Right.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be accountable. I love it. No, you compare it to what Tevin Jenkins is saying, and the quarterback showing 10 times more maturity. But at the end of the day, this is all about performance. And it's just on that side of the ball from top to bottom hasn't been good enough.
We have more for you. No, we're done with Tommy. Oh, we're done with you, Tom.
All right. That's okay.
All right.
I appreciate you rearranging your schedule to have me today.
Anything to have Tom Waddle, a Tommy Tuesday or a Waddle Wednesday. We're all richer for being around you.
Jackson, Smith, and Jigba.
See how good that was? Nice and clean.
Smooth Juba.
I mean, think about it, Tommy. I mean, it's right in front of him, and he's going through the old box score, and he gives you a little.
The Seahawks blocked a 48-yard field goal with 4 minutes left, which would have put the Pats up 6. That was a big play in this game. Smith played well, and his receivers, Metcalf caught 10, Jackson Smith Nagujuba, the kid from Ohio State, he caught 12 more.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness.
Best case scenario for fumbling the name.
I agree.
Best case.
Could have been worse.
Yeah.
Tommy, thank you.
See you guys.